Starting engine checklist. 1, 2, 3 on. Audio master switch. On. Crew reports. On position. Co-pilot. Position. Scanner position. Scanner.
My desire and my dream was to restore this airplane and to honor those who flew them.
I got connected with the B-29 in 1942. Turns out we were picking up the first production airplane that the Air Force accepted from Boeing aircraft. Got up in the airplane, he stood by and he said, "You take the captain's seat." And I said, "I only have 2 hours and 25 minutes in the airplane." He said, "I only have 1 hour and 45 minutes. But both the takeoff and the landing were exciting. It was full power in the first 100 feet, and you go down that runway at full power.
And I would like to see this as a flying museum and to show our current and future generations what we have accomplished and had to do at a time period in our lives to end a war. But it's part of our history, and I wanted to preserve this. I wanted to keep the memories alive."
MacArthur was designated as the chairman of the ceremony for the surrender of the Japanese, and they decided they were going to have it on the battleship Missouri. I'll put every serviceable B-29 over the battleship Missouri when you sign it. He, so to speak, handed me the keys to the plane. He said, "You were going to fly the airplane. You know all the details. You're now the leader." And we ended up with over 525 B-29s. We went over the battleship at 9:04.
I was a B-29 flight engineer during World War II, and the last time I was on a B-29, flew over the Missouri when the thing was being signed.
I would like this to be around for many more years to show our current and future generations. God bless those volunteers that put in so many hours to help me make sure that we were able to get this airplane back into the air again.
It was a challenge. It took us 3 days, 12-hour days. We crossed the Dixie Wash. They built a bridge, the Dixie Wash. Took them all night, a crew of about 50 people. It's emotional, actually, because I didn't think that... I knew I'd see her if I'd have to fly somewhere to see her, but she's here. To see her fly, it's emotional.
I was one of the original members of the team that pulled Doc out of the desert into Inyakern, and then I was in charge of security once it got there.
I knew this guy named Leo Blowers, and he had a whole lot of junk in his yard. When they were restoring this, they were looking all over for a B-29 landing gear, and they just could not find one. And Leo Blowers said, "Oh, I've got 5 of them in my backyard." And that's how they got some of the parts for this thing.
That team at Inyakern, they saved that aircraft. They saved it. People like Jeff Turner and Tony Mazzolini, who would say, "Hey, look, this is our dream. At some point, we got to get this airplane put back together."
Seeing the thing get back up in the air and knowing we'd done it and we'd done a good job, and to this day, he flies like he did when he first came out of the factory, just perfectly.
In 1977, I was a geologist working at China Lake Naval Weapons Testing Center. I saw a dock sitting out in the sagebrush. I was able to approach it, crawl through it. I took 5 photographs of this thing, kept it real quiet. I tried to keep track of the aircraft over the years, but nobody seemed to be having any luck getting it. Didn't tell you all achieved that success. But for 46 years, this has been my dream to revisit this aircraft. Today, this past week, I made a 1,700-mile drive from London, California, so I could fly on it. I was privileged to fly the Bombardier seat at 8 o'clock this morning. If there ever was an e-ticket ride, that's it. It's my dream come true. Thank you.
From the day of its first flight until now, I mean, it's almost walking on clouds.
Paul Tibbetts, happy to say I was privileged to fly with him in that B-29.
I think it's great that people can get in this airplane. It's one of the most important things we have today to show the young people what was accomplished in World War II. And it's a flying airplane. It flew to where they're at. Feel what it's like in there. Imagine how it was for the guys flying to Japan. I think it's just a great asset to this country and the history of aviation. That's a great, great display. And the fact that it's still flying and fly around the country, it just speaks a little bit more for it. I love the idea. Proud to be from Wichita, where it was built.
And it is totally, completely appropriate that we elevate the level of honoring that we do for women in aviation.
And so it was really a great effort. Women rolled up their sleeves and they worked at jobs that previously only men had held. Connie's role in 1945, when she was riveting, was to rivet the nose section of the aircraft. And there are 2,000 rivets in the nose section. When they restored Doc, they only had to restore 7 of those rivets. So, Connie, you did great work.
And I do want to thank all of the Doc volunteers for their service too. And thank you so much.
Go fly it to air shows and show it off to the public. Make it a flying museum, a flying tribute, if you will, to the men and women who serve our nation and who built these and who really put Wichita on the map as the aviation capital of the world.
We brought our kids out yesterday to visit Doc. And the reason being is that I believe that history provides an enrichment to our children's education. They need to know where they've been to know where they need to go.
I made a lemonade stand. I started raising money for the airplane flight. They're teaching a new generation of people about the history of our country, how important it is to the children carry on these stories to their children.
It's a piece of history, you know, and it's a treasure to be able to fly it and show it and have people appreciate it.